Welcome to another episode of Single Yet Qualified to Speak, where your hosts, Bianca and Michelle, talk through relationships and doing it with God. Today we got our friends with us. We're talking about the list, y'all.
Hey, beautiful people. It is your girl, Bianca.
And Michelle.
And we are the hosts of Single Yet Qualified to Speak. And we're so glad that you're here with us today. We have our friends one more time, Shay and Kay. Thank you so much for being here. You guys heard them talk about our amazing conversation we had in our last segment, and so we brought them back.
Right.
And so today we're talking about something that's so important. When you think about relationships, we all, especially women, think about the list. Now, if you're a woman and you've had a relationship, you know what list I'm talking about, right? Not the grocery list, not the Santa list, but the list. And I'm sure that in your group chats, you talk about it too. So we're going to talk about it together today. That's cool? All right, awesome. So obviously, now that we're in 2025 and, vision boards and vision and resolutions and all of the things, when we do our vision board, like we said in our last segment, most of the time when we think about these goals, we think about business, we think about wealth. I mean, sometimes we'll put some relationship stuff on our boards, but it's not really like the focal point. But have you ever done like a my man vision board? Like, that is the vision. This is what I mean.
I heard about vision boards. I heard about prayer boards, but I never heard about the my man board. So, I mean, I think that's a good one because usually people, I see it on vision boards, like people talk about like weddings, right, and rings and stuff like that, but nobody talks about the process to it, right?
Yes.
So let's take a little time to talk about that. Have you guys ever put your man vision on your vision board? Anybody else?
Well, not my man.
Your man to be. the vision of him.
You put your man on your vision board?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What did that look like?
Yeah. As far as the list part, or as far as like
just on the vision board, like what do you use to depict that? Like,
well, mostly I always make sure I put family because obviously I have kids, right? So I always make sure that, well, one thing I know that I always wanted was family. Okay. So that was like the main thing I focused around. I feel like back then it was very childish with some of the stuff that I used to put on there. Now it's more in depth, it's more intentional. I actually like sit down to actually think about what I wanted to entail. But yeah, back in the day it was pretty childish.
So tell me what was on there. Y'all wanna know? Anybody else wanna know? I wanna know what's on there.
No, it was childish stuff because I feel like I was more so focused on like the outer appearance, like the stuff that we can see. But I didn't really think about the stuff that we can't see that really matters, especially when raising a family. So I feel like for me it was like the looks, the height, maybe even the income, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. The way they dressed. But I wasn't really thinking about their character, their relationship with Christ. I wasn't really thinking about the stuff that they could instill in my kids or our kids that will actually hold up.
Right.
Hold up.
That's important.
That's so good. That's so good.
I just put my man.
Just be a man.
That one. But you know what? It's like we're laughing about that, but you know what's so funny with that?
Not too much me.
No. No. Yo, I used to be so general about my requests. And it always had to do with what I experienced before. So let's say, like, for instance, I'm not going to put him on blast, but there was a guy that I was dating, and he was a yes man. So he literally could not say no to me. And I hated it. So I broke up with him. And I was like, God, I want an aggressive man. And then a Jamaican came along.
Yeah. Somebody bring the oils.
They gonna hear me talk about the Jamaican every episode. But no, it was like, be more specific.
Yeah.
Like, just because you had a yes man that you absolutely was just like, no, this ain't it. Because I have an assertive personality, ain't no way I was making it with no yes man.
Gotcha.
Now I just went on the far end instead of being like, all right, I want a man who is a manly man who, you know, can hold things down, who can lead, you know, being specific. Yeah. I was just like, I need somebody aggressive because this yes man thing ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
And then the Jamaican came, so it was like, no, be more specific. Like, don't be so general concerning your list, right? And I guess that goes into when we make this list, like, how specific are we willing to get? Like, what does that look like for y'all?
Well, can I just say something? I feel like for me, it does take experience in order for you to really know what you want, right? Because I feel like for me, I went based off of what I seen. That's what I thought I wanted. It wasn't necessarily me going through the things. But now it's like me experiencing certain relationships and knowing my temperament, knowing what I'm able to deal with, knowing what works for me, what works for my kids, stuff like that. I'm able to be more specific to say, yeah, this will fit in, this won't. Now, obviously, along the way, God might correct me or correct him or whatever to adjust it. But for me, I feel like I need at least a foundation of something to build on.
Yeah, I mean, I created a list. And before I met my husband, the person I was with, he had the money, the job, but not the character. So then I felt like I really went in on my list about the character.
Gotcha.
Like, it was just like, I don't want any of that.
Yes.
And I want this. But some of that, why not? You know what I mean? I think sometimes like we go too far.
Yeah, gotcha.
And just say like, I don't want any of that. Instead of thinking about like, okay, some of these things are good, and let's add this too.
Yeah, like a Build-A-Bear experience.
A
little razzle dazzle.
Build-A-Man experience.
Listen, for me, it's crazy because now that I think about it, like my past relationships, because I didn't honor marriage for a long time, so I don't think that I've ever created a list. Like my needs, like I dated people based on my immediate needs, not my long-term needs, right? Like if I need money now, so I'm gonna do it. If I want to be defended, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna get a karate man. I'm thinking like I did things based on what I needed right now. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't think about the long term needs, which is I feel like because I wasn't expecting it to be long term, I just needed to meet what I am right now. And then like after a while, I was like, okay, like I'm good. Like I'm good and I'm great. And I think now that I'm in church, and not only in church, I'm in God, right? My expectations are different now, and I do find it even challenging, like now when I pray, to even pray for a husband, because I'm just like, I'm not used to that, and I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, God, you know what I need, right? But as you guys talk about like making it specific, I'm like, that's not really something that I do, because I'm still learning what my long-term needs are, right?
That's good. I like that, because it goes to the verse that talks about the desires of our hearts, right? And we always quote that verse when it's talking about the things that we want, like, oh, God will give me the desires of my heart. And then we always hear like people skip out that first part, that when we still have to delight ourselves in the Lord. So I don't even know that I trust certain things that I ask for right now, because there's still more alignment that needs to happen, and I'm always experiencing this level of deliverance. Like we're never done with that. And so it's like, God, the things that I want, is that even pure right now? Like, and it could be innocent, but is it pure? So like, we was joking before this, I say, I don't really want to date a Caucasian man. And that's because of what I know. Like I come from a very militant Black Caribbean family where my uncles will probably be like, who and why and what, like, is she good? So my frame is built from what I know. Is that really a true desire, or is it just based off of what I know that I don't want because of what I've seen, And so I don't know that I trust everything that I ask for. So, but I also don't want to be left out of the process either, So it's like finding that balance of God, I want what you want, but I'm not really attracted to certain things. So are you gonna give that to me just because you know it's what I need and I don't want it? Right.
Because I would say, are we making a list based on what we want or based on what we need, right? Because
I put both in there.
But I don't feel like I should have to look at somebody I don't want to look at.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
I don't think that's fair.
But what do you mean not want to look at? You talking about
like somebody that's not ugly. Attractive?
Okay.
Like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Hey, I'm the beholder.
So it's like, yes, we know that there are certain things we need, but why can't it also be aesthetically pleasing?
Yes.
No, it can be, but I think that when we start to put like those like what Kay said, when we start putting like the exterior above the internal, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where it is, because sometimes we get so caught up in what it looks like when you walk in the street, if everybody gonna think he's cute or like stuff like that. But then there are like, when the doors is closed, like you could actually like someone, and someone could be gorgeous and you could look at them and think that they're ugly. You know what I'm saying? Because they have ugly character, ugly personalities. And I'm just like, I think it's important to find that balance, but my thing is, you can't you can't just pick someone because they're cute or because they're handsome or because they got the body, because there are bills that need to be paid. There's a soul that they got to take care of. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I've seen people miss out on what appear to be good things because they were so shallow in their expectations of
I don't know, because respectfully, my past, not aesthetically pleasing. But if I needed $1,000
that part
in 20 minutes,
and that part,
I got the $1,000.
No,
so
and
what
that part was challenging
to...
for me though, because I'm not gonna lie, like literally, like, and I say this very humbly, but when you come in like to like the church life and stuff like that, it's like you kind of, it's like a slower life. Like, you know, like, I'm not from the streets, but when you hang out on the street, when you just sit on the sidewalk for a little while,
have your feet dangling,
a little folding chair. You know, things are a little bit more fast paced. Like if they don't have it, they know how to get it, right? And I think that for me is like the part that's a little bit more humbling, when it's kind of like, hey, you got money for it? And they're like, I'm like,
we the same
But okay, can we talk about that though, right? Because if you don't really deal with that, that will roll over. And I can speak for me in my marriage, right? Like, I was used to like, I need $500 right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I need this. I need that, right? But the entire package of that person was not what I needed. And so when you used to that, and now you're with a person that challenges you spiritually, that challenges you emotionally, and I'm like, can I?
Get $500 too?
And it's like, I don't have it right now, but I'll get, it's like,
yeah.
That can be challenging.
It's very.
Well, one thing I would say too is, I feel like when I made my prior list, the space that I was in, I felt I didn't need anybody. So what I was putting wasn't really of substance, like I said, because I felt like it was just like the little, pick up the little minor stuff. You know what I mean? Like I was making my own money. Me and my son was good. So I wasn't really thinking in depth to be like, I need somebody to take care of me and my child, because I felt like I had that under control. I felt like my son didn't want for anything or whatever it was. So I feel like the stuff that I was putting there was just stuff that I guess I was throwing in the laundry basket instead of me really saying, like you said, like long term, what do I really need? So I think that now, you know, making my list or reflecting over my list that I already made, I'm like, God, give me a second chance. Let me do it over. Please, give me one more chance.
You wrote that in pencil, girl. We gonna go back here to that class.
Because now it's like, with my spiritual walk, I realize that there's different things that I'm requiring. Right? And it's not just a want, but it's a requirement now, even not just for me, but for my kids, and just for generational purposes. It's like, that was, that ain't gonna make it. That ain't gonna make it on the battlefield over here. We ain't even making it out there.
Let's not talk about the battlefield.
You don't even got that helmet on. Like, come on now.
But so then that brings me to this question. Should there be a timeline to when we create the list?
Like
or a time frame? Like, can we even trust ourselves to make a list? Because,
I feel like yes. I mean, I guess it depends on where you are,
back,
right? Yeah, I feel like, you can go back. That's definitely one before you get married.
Because the list don't matter.
Because that is permanent. But I think, and I think it's okay. I think one thing that we don't realize is that we're always growing, right? And it's okay for our needs to change. And I think that's important, because I think people think when you just get into something, it's like that person remains the same, and that's not true. We're supposed to be ever evolving. God is, you know, as I'm healing, I'm realizing that my needs change. And I'm not even talking about what my expectations are for people. The way I show up for myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, I can't respond to myself that way no more, because this is a healed version of myself. So I'm gonna give myself grace. So it's like, it's important to create a list, but I think, and I'm gonna even say, create a list for yourself too, right? What do you want to be? And I think we talked about this at one time off the mic, but it's like, we create a list for people, but who, like, what kind of husband do you want? What kind of wife are you gonna be? Right? You know, you want, you know, what your kids, I want my kids to be doctors and lawyers. What kind of mom are we? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want my friends to, you know, look out for me and check on me. What kind of friend are you? Are you calling and checking on your friends, right? So it's like, we create lists for people, but we don't have a list for ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. That's important too. Because there's a verse that I love that says, you want friends to be friendly. So it's like, there's a standard, like, even for you to be something before you could even ask for something, you know? And I think that we forget the prerequisite that the vision board needs to be not everything that we're going after outside of ourselves, but also what we're going after internally too. Because the more that I become, the more I set myself up to be in different pools. Because if that pool is janky, that means I'm in the wrong pool. You know what I mean? And I'm attracting the wrong people. And so I think for me, the vision board sector of it, or just, you know, thinking about the goals when it comes to relationships and friendships, my biggest thing is going back to my statement of how specific can I get, and what am I don't want to say, I don't like the word settle, but what am I willing to set aside that's not like super, super, super important? It may be something that I want, but it's not super important.
Give us an example.
So like, okay, let's talk about income, right? Let's talk about income.
Okay. It's a big one.
It's a big one. It's a big one, especially we live in New York, you know, like rent be renting, right? Or own be mortgage be mortgage, right?
Jesus name.
But it's like, is it okay to be okay with less than 6 figures, let's say?
Who's making less than 6 figures?
The man.
So is it him making less than 6 figures or him making less than you?
Okay, let's do the less than you. Let's do the less than you.
I think for me, I mean, I come from a family of providers, right? Like, my dad is a provider. Like, he could be everything else he want to be, but he took care of the house when it came to financial, right? So for me, that's important to me, right? But it's also important for me to have my own, right? Because I also saw how that played out in my parents' relationship, because my mom wasn't the breadwinner, and when she wanted to make the certain decisions, how she couldn't make it because she didn't have the funds to make it. So that's why for me, I'm like, I'm going to school, I'm going to get my master's, I'm going to hear all the things. I still expect you to provide, but I also know that I got my own money just in case you act crazy, you know what I'm saying? So I think, I don't know if it really matters who makes more, right? But I think it's really how you steward your money. I would prefer you to make more, but it's like really how you steward your money. Like, are you a good steward of your money? Like, you know what I'm saying? So
you willing to set it aside a little bit, depending on who the person is?
I mean, I think that the goal should be for the person to try to make more money than me. But how are you going towards that goal, right? It is really important, right? And then it's also, what does your money cover? Right, like, so it's like, are you able to? What do you bring to the table? Like, for me, it's kind of different because I own a house, I have my own car, I have a job, so I think the standard's a little bit higher for me because I'm just like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I try to change my mind frame. I try not to have an independent mind frame, but it's hard when you have done everything on your own already, right? So the standard is really like, if you taking me out of this, what are you taking me into? We're not going into an apartment. You know what I'm saying? Not forget who makes the most money, but I'm not. Yeah, you're not going backwards to go into an apartment. You know what I'm saying? No matter how big or how small.
And I think that's fair. I think that request is fair. It goes back to what Shay said about, like, some people ask for things that they haven't even accomplished themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's certain things that if you see this person as a goal-oriented person or somebody who's pursuing things, it's like, for a certain time period, I could deal with the fact that, you know, you may not be making the money that you desire to make. But I need to hear you talking and moving a certain way to know that we're not going to be stuck here.
Right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're not 21.
Hello?
So I feel like we got to leave some things for the 21-year-olds. Like, you feel me?
No, real talk. When I was 21, I was okay with sliding the money under the table when my man didn't have it because I didn't want him to feel no way. Like, I was good with that. And that's crazy
for me, and I say this humbly, that still wasn't my story. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's a game changer because now I'm like, you talking about not street-minded stuff, right? And not street money. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's still a game changer, but it's still like, you know, my dad, like, the way I grew up was, if you brought a man home, you were good. Like, my dad was, don't ask my dad for no money. Don't tell him the bills is low. You can, like, I can tell my dad right now, I ain't got it. He gonna try to figure it out. But if I tell him I got a man, and I'm like, Daddy, I ain't got it, he gonna be like, you know, my dad done said to me, oh, where you got like a wordless boy? Like, where you get these little, like, he be saying, where you get these little wordless boys from? Like, where, like, you know, because it's like, if you tell me you got a man,
why not?
You gotta be good.
Because that's their mentality.
That's his mentality. Like, you got to be good. You can't tell me you got a man and you're not even pay that bill.
Because that ain't a my man.
That's
not.
That's
why.
That's
my
boy. unreasonable. Like, I do believe men need safe places, though. Like, so I don't believe that it's not okay for you to cover something if he falls short, if he doesn't have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like a man should also have that security if you get sick or if you lose your job or if things happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I don't never want to date somebody or be with somebody that feels like I can't hit a hard place because we are really in this together.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's never going to be, if you don't have it, then we're not good. That's not. But as long as I know that you're always trying to take care, I'm not going to never forget. Like, I can't forget people that are good.
I don't know. I had like a lot of different thoughts, so
I'm
trying to like sift through.
Okay.
Because I have a very, I guess, different perspective.
Share it.
I mean, I don't know. Well, it's not a surprise. Like, I make more money than my husband. But it's also understanding that I've also made different life choices than my husband. And so we actually sat down before we had our daughter and said, like, he said, I don't want her to make the mistakes that I made. Right? So, like, I went to school. I got my bachelor's. I got my master's. I got the certification. I did all the things, right? And so, like, that's me first understanding I'm already in a certain tax bracket. I'm already in a certain network, right? And so am I going to just look for somebody that's there? Because I had somebody that was, like, on a given day, he had it, right? But emotionally... mentally, the way he spoke to me, right, like, really tore me down. My husband don't make as much as I do, but he respects me.
So good.
Right? Like, whether we have our differences, like, that's still my friend. Right? And so it's really understanding what's important to you.
So important.
And, like, I can't teach a man, or, like, I can't help you with your character if you don't want, right? Like, there's certain internal things you have to already innately have and want to better, but we can get money,
Right.
Right? Like,
we get money.
We
That
could
part
get
is
the
right
money,
there.
you know what I mean? And so, like, we have a running joke. I can say, like, oh, Rory, I want X, Y, and Z, and he'd be like, I'm gonna get it for you. And when I don't got it, I know you got it, right? But that just shows, like, we
teamwork.
in this together. We figure it out. He wants to provide, and he provides. And if he does not have, then I step in. So it's just really like, what are you willing to work with?
I think it goes back to Kay's list when she's talking about putting things that are, like, because the things that you cannot buy, they really, like, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, again, like, I'm used to having a provider, right? If I'm not providing for myself, which I've always done, like, you know, but if you're with someone, it's like I have that mind frame where it's just like, okay, you should be doing certain things. But now, like I said, as we're growing, it's like my spiritual well-being is so much more important. Like, you know, like, if you could throw $500 on the table, but when I'm battling, you can't pray for me. Like, you know what I mean? Or if you leading me into sin, or you trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, and so it definitely has changed significantly. But those are things that sometimes we can't bring to our parents, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, my dad, my parents, they were in the church, but they don't do church like how we do church, right? So it's kind of like, I could be like, yeah, Dad, he prayed for me. And my dad could be like, okay, yeah, I'm glad. So where he at? Where'd you say? Like, my dad is fresh like that, you know what I'm saying? So I'll be like, okay, Daddy, yeah, you know, everything's gonna be great. Everything's gonna be great. I think what Shay said was, like, it's super important to think about the things that, again, not that we want, that we need, right? And I think those are, like, some of the needs, right? Because, like she said, you could get money. We can get money. We could figure it out. And one day, like, literally one day, before you blink, you know what I'm saying? He could start a business and be a millionaire. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I think one thing I love about, you know, Shay is the honor she gives her husband, right? Because you could actually have a man making more money than you, but not make him feel like a man, right? And I think it's super important that the man in your life knows that no matter what, that money is not how you value the person, right? Like, you gotta make that man feel like a man, and that's, like you said, he makes you feel like a woman, and that's super important.
Yeah, so good.
Even as we was talking, the only thing that kept coming to my mind is, like, a scale, right? And when you put money on the scale, it's paper, right? And it does weigh it down. But imagine putting character, imagine putting morals, imagine putting that stuff. I feel like that stuff has so much more density that it weighs it down.
The density.
So it's like, even thinking about it, like, is this person an asset or a liability to my life? And now, what are you bringing? Because it's not all about the money, like we said, right? But what do you, like you said, like, what are you draining from me? Are you draining from my spiritual bank? Are you draining from my mental bank? because the financial bank, that could be up, but now everything else is low. So I can't even function the way I'm supposed to function because all of the other banks are depleted. You know what I mean? So,
and I think it's a difference between making more money than you and being lazy, right? Like, you just lazy, like you just home every day, right? You home playing video games every day, and we struggling. Like that part, I cannot live with. You know what I'm saying? Like lights going off, and you just here. You say
playing
I'm
the
like,
game with Jace. Playing the game with Jace.
What?
According
I
to
would
Jace
lose my mind.
Fire Roblox.
What? Yo,
no
what?
way.
Oh, nah. So.
But that makes me think about in my past relationship, I bought a car. Like I purchased my car, and I got a new position, and my ex was just like, "Oh, you got a new car. I just feel like I should have a new car."
So good.
Or you got a new, and I should feel. And then when I think about Rory, right?
Yeah.
I got another promotion, and he was just like,
Champion.
"My wife got a promotion!" Like da da da. And so it just brings me to like, is this person celebrating me?
Yeah.
Is this, are we celebrating each other? You know what I mean? Because while we are evolving, this might be my season.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna be his season.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like we all have different seasons.
Yeah.
We're all evolving, we're all growing. Sometimes it's yours, sometimes it's mine.
Yeah.
But how are we moving together?
Yeah, right.
And do you even see my wins as your wins?
Right.
And we're not competing.
That
because we're supposed to be on the
part.
same
That
team,
part.
working
That part.
together. Like because I'm winning, you winning.
Yeah. But you know, I used to look at like a man making more money than you as control. So that's why I always kind of went after my own stuff too, because I always felt like, okay, if he got more money than me, if he's controlling all the finances, that means I have to ask you for permission to do stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like some, especially like in the West Indian culture, no shade to the West Indian culture, but men work, but you can't tell them nothing. You can't tell them you're hurt. You can't tell them things. They just looking at you like, but all the bills is paid in this house. I'm like, it's like, keep on the bills. I'm hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, it's really talking about really focusing on character and the needs and like, you know, like Kay said, the density.
Yeah.
Because it's
That's
real.
important.
It's
Very
real.
real. Very real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the takeaway from this is make your list, right?
Yeah.
It's not a problem with making your list, but for me, I think the most important part is that we need to trust God with this stuff, because a lot of the times in different seasons of our lives, we don't even know what we need, right?
True.
Like the Bible says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, because your own understanding will lead you down a pathway of marrying wrong, dating wrong, having kids wrong. It's like, it's one of those things that, not that it needs to be like an arranged situation where you don't have a part in it, but allow the Lord to lead you. Like he leads us into all truth. So God, what do I need right now? Like what do I need that I can't even see? Like what are the things that you're dealing with me that somebody's going to add to this equation into my deliverance and my healing? Like I feel like
you know, that scripture that comes to me, it says, "Ye who was out sin, let him cast the first stone." And I think we create lists casting stones and we don't think about like again, like, you know, like our own stones that we have right here, you know. And I'm just like, listen, as I create my list, I want to create a list that not just talks about their expectations, but also talks about how I'm adding to my person's life too, right? Not just what I'm gonna get out of it, but what am I gonna be able to give in it? Like add that on your list too. How do I contribute to this list, onto this person?
because it's usually written, like me and Shay were saying, in our experiences off of what we had or what we didn't have.
Yeah.
So now you're making a list based off of lack.
Yeah.
And not off of this space of wealthiness or worth, right? Now it's like, oh, I didn't have this, I need this now. Or I had too much of this, I need less of this now. Rather than saying, God, what season am I in? I need to know what this person can add to me. I need to know how this person can make this whole equation of everything that I'm experiencing and journeying and progressing in better. And what does that look like for the both of us? Like, how can I do the same thing for him? And so the prayers just got to change. They got to switch up a little bit, you know, on what we're looking for. I mean, Shay, you done, so.
Yeah, right. You over here taking notes. You said, Shay?